Alright, hey everyone, this is Ash. Welcome back to the King's Speech. So we're getting around to more Akane-Banashi today. There's a lot of Shonen Jump stuff that will have dropped this weekend once I got up with my gigantic backlog. So if you haven't already, please do like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, because there's a lot of good content to get caught up with. But without further ado, let us get into it with Akane-Banashi, chapter 147, Maybe All Powerful, with story by Yuki Suenaga, art by Takamasa Moe, with translation by Stephen Paul, lettering by Sneeron. So we pick up with recently, I think I figured out why he ordered me to go overseas to train. And Akane's shirt says Jozu Tatabayashi. I don't know if that's supposed to be a reference to someone. But there are a number of classic Rakugo pieces that are based on foreign culture and folk stories. Even the story God of Death originated in Europe. And you see that the European title was Der Gevatter Tod, which is I guess the German for the death god, or the grave god, I guess. Now that you're advancing to Futatsume and starting a career as a full-fledged Rakugoka, you have Araku Supervision Keikihaishi, did I mention that? And you have Gakuman going, it might be best to separate yourself from the Rakugo world and gain a broader appreciation of the arts in order to further hone your eye for Rakugo itself, which is why he had you hone your craft overseas. And he goes, here in a place of tradition and revolution, there's much that resonates with Master Isho's ethos. At least that's what Iken said to me. And Kane's like, I'm sure that's part of it, but I think his primary intent was something else. And the niece is like, meaning? Or no, Sagarikwan's like, meaning? As he goes, Seiyan Fortignan Quan Divion Forgeron. I know my French is atrocious. She goes, practice makes perfect. Christ, come on. Simple as that. And it goes back with a, huh? This guy said you heard how to learn how to yawn, yes? Like, well, of course I am. But I can't repeat it perfectly after you only showed me once. Can I see that summer yawn one more time? It's like, certainly. First, the drifting smoke of tobacco. And she mimes, I guess, like grabbing more tobacco. It's like, boatman, take me upriver. Riding in a boat all day is so... And she lets out another yawn again. You see the audience kind of like miming her with the yawns. And you have Aka's doing hard mode, and it says Gakuman talking to her niece. And he's like, hard? It's like, France has no Rakugo masters. All subtitles, so no ad-libs. It's like, what do I have to be afraid of? You must match timing, so always the same beat. Feels like a very awkward sentence. Sorry, give me a second. Let me pull this up on my tablet if I can get this on. Come on. Sorry, give me a second here. Yeah, so you see they have like a little board behind them with like all the, I guess, the lines from the Rakugo story, and you have to see like the performers like clicking through the slides as they're performing. You can't learn new Rakugo. Many restriction, which means she gets better at what she can do. And you see her just like sitting at the table and she's like muttering to herself. And it's like, do I add a wrinkle here? Maybe it's better to put more emotion into it rather than making a sound. It's like the perfect setting in which to examine and fix the fundamentals then. But will they appreciate her hard work away from her home territory? It's like, yes, it's fine. They can see the sights she seeks. It's like, show me the sights that she seeks. Like, so Kane is like when she's walking, following Higuma through the festival. It's like it was a reckless attempt that should never have worked. But he made them choose Rakugo. Even don't know Rakugo, you can tell she gets better. I don't know why. I don't know if there's like a stylistic choice to have the niece spoken like broken English or like Japanese to the uncle. So like, it feels like an odd stylistic choice. When she goes back to Japan and unties the ropes holding her down, Aka is maybe all powerful. You have, geez, I didn't think there'd be lines to rehearse and learning how to yawn. It's like, just go along with it. Here, use this pipe. It's like, thank you. It's like, copy what I saw you do. First, take a puff. It's like, whoa! And she mimics just doing, like, having flubbed it. With this little, like, beak face. It's like, hey, this is good stuff. Let me get another taste. It's like, only one puff of tobacco. It's like, sorry! It's like, anyway, the boats are rocking in the waves, back and forth. And you see her just like wiggling back and forth. It's like, that sounds more like a storm to me. She'd be rocking so subtly you can't even tell. It's like she was going so quietly earlier, but now she's getting louder and wilder. And the reporter bro's like, Yawning Lessons is a story where the humor comes in the contrast of skill between a veteran teacher and a clumsy student. Because she made the most out of expressing the quiet parts of the act, and you have like just imagining it as like a slow curveball, the sudden shift in style really accentuates the absurdity. And Gakumon's like, that kind of contrast, however, isn't something you can do with subtitles. Too much change in rhythm. With the growth of a performer comes a change to the world they describe. The earnestness of the art and the rambunctious comedy are the two poles that weave together a performance of pure freedom, a true kaleidoscope. This is what she learned in France, the world of Rakugo that Akane Arakawa depicts. I don't know, man. I guess thoughts on the chapter. Like, again, like we get bits and pieces of like the explanation of like, oh, you know, because this is something also that just like occurred to me as I was reading through like the chapter itself. But I think it's been kind of like established and like there's like a known fact like manga is, I think France is like the biggest like manga market outside of Japan, like compared to like the US, compared to everywhere else. I think France has like the biggest like translation manga market. So in that regard, it kind of makes sense, along with, you know, its kind of reputation as like an artistic city and like its cultural juggernaut. It makes sense why Isho would be like, you know, if you want to gain an appreciation for culture, for the arts, you know, like France would be one of the places you would send someone. Like, it makes sense logically in that regard. I like that Gakumon kind of like establishes that precedent at the beginning where he's like, you know, if you want to be like, you know, there's always been like the cross-pollination, so to speak, of like the cultural exchanges between like, you know, different countries, where they like the media and everything's kind of like go overseas, get intermingled, changed, adapted, things like that. So I do appreciate him kind of like establishing that at the beginning, be like, yeah, you know, this is a part of Rakugo as well. Like, again, giving us like a little bit more insight into Rakugo's like history and all that. But like Akane just kind of like blatantly blowing it off with like, oh no, it's actually simpler than that. Like, practice makes perfect. It feels a little bit like just too dismissive of like what exactly she's supposed to do and like what exactly she's supposed to learn. Because again, it kind of underplays and undercuts like, you know, the supposed like limitation she has to overcome in being in a foreign land, immersed in a foreign culture, all like the hurdles that she has to overcome, like the troubles that she has to like learn how to deal with. It feels like it's a little trivializing that just a little bit with like how much effort and stuff she'd have to have put in to like hone her craft, so to speak. Especially at the end when Gakumon kind of mentions like, you know, Gakumon and the niece mention like, oh, you know, in Rakugo performance in France, you can't really do ad-libs and things like that because it's all subtitled. So you kind of have to have like a script and you have to like follow that script. So you're kind of limited in scope of what you're able to do. And so I wish they'd kind of emphasized that a little bit more and kind of spent a little bit more time showing us the kind of like training and adaptation she would have had to have done to her performance to kind of overcome these barriers that wouldn't have been an issue back in Japan. And also like overcoming these cultural barriers as well. To kind of showcase like how she managed to hone her craft. Because again, I keep saying this, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but again, Haikyuu did this so much better because when Hinata was training in Brazil, it made sure to emphasize like, you know, when he was playing beach volleyball, it made sure to emphasize like how that training there, how learning a different play style, like, you know, and doing like these freestyle matches where you just partner up with someone you don't know to play a match against two other people in beach volleyball. How that forced you to change and to adapt to like these new circumstances, change your skills to kind of adapt as well, and how that made you kind of like a better player, a better analyst, a better volleyball player because of all these things you had to change and adapt to constantly and consistently. I wish Akane kind of did the same thing where you kind of emphasize like, you know, she had like, you know, these pitfalls where she had like a bad performance that she went through because she hadn't gotten used to this new style yet, and she kind of had to learn like how to overcome that. I feel like a lot of that would make this more impactful rather than this story just telling us like, oh, you know, like because she's so skilled, she's so good. I was like, oh, you know, she kind of does this swapping act between the two, like the expert performance and the clumsy one so well. It's like, oh, it's like, you know, her performance is like a true kaleidoscope. it just falls flat to me because it doesn't feel like the story really emphasizes those aspects of her performance. It kind of feels like it's just telling me like, yeah, you need to just trust me that, you know, this performance is exactly like that, rather than making believe it through what is being presented on the page. So yeah, a little bit of a disappointment, but I mean, don't know what else to say about that. I'm hoping it kind of like picks up the slack again, but like, these last few kind of chapters have really not been it. But yeah, with all that said, I hope you all did enjoy this review and this critique I had of this chapter as well. If you did, you know, please do like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Like I mentioned, I did get caught up with a bunch of Shonen Jump stuff this weekend, so a lot of videos should have hit the channel by now. Like I said, I'll probably also try to do a proper channel update with like when read-throughs are coming back, what to look forward to with that as well sometime soon. So a lot to look forward to, and until next time, this is Ash. I'll talk to you all later.